Coming up, the best new, interesting and custom tech that we've managed to find in the last 24 hours here at the Giro d'Italia.
At the Tour de France, Mavic provides neutral service. You may have seen Sai's excellent video covering it, but at the Giro it's different. They actually have Shimano giving the neutral service, and these are the neutral service cars, and on top of them are the neutral service bikes. So what they are Pinarello Dogma F10s, which is pretty sweet. And there's a mixture, interestingly, of disc brake ones on that car and rim brake ones on that car. And for the pedals, well, I've not seen any Speed Play equipped bikes, but there's a mixture of Look pedal bikes and Shimano pedal bikes. So as long as you've got one of those two pedal systems, you should be all right, should the worst come to the worst. But they're really nice. They're even in Shimano colours, so they're sort of black, white and blue. And to be honest, I'd be tempted to brake my bike, so I'd get one of these.
I have got an unbelievable box of tricks in my hand. A fresh delivery from SRM to Bahrain Reader and a few other select riders here at the Giro d'Italia. So they have customised each and every one with the rider's picture on the side and their flag colours. That of course is Italy, and then there are a couple of Slovenian colours here as well. But beyond that, if you're a very special rider like Caleb Ewan, you get a nice yellow one. If you're Vincenzo Nibali, you get this blue one with his picture on the side and his emblem there. Beyond that, if you happen to go into the pink jersey, you get this one. That is amazing. It's got the Gazzetta newspaper around the edge, and included in that is a picture of Vincenzo Nibali on the Gazzetta newspaper. And then the piece de resistance, just down here, is not for any of the riders here in fact. SRM have made this for the Sheikh of Bahrain with real gold.
It's absolutely tipping it down today, and given the weather you'd be forgiven for thinking we're in England, but no, we're in Bologna, Italy, because it's the beginning of stage 2 of the Giro d'Italia, and because it's raining so much, the choice of lube that the teams are using becomes really important. And the team in EOS Mechanics have just been applying this new wet weather ceramic lube onto the bike's drivetrains in the hope that this lasts much longer and doesn't wash off as easily. But should the drivetrain start to make noise as the riders are riding along, which there's a chance because it's such a long stage and the rain looks pretty bad, then they might drop back to the team cars, whereupon the mechanics can precariously hang out and squirt some more lube onto the drivetrains. Because today's a wet day, we're also seeing the mechanics going around and tweaking the tyre pressures in the riders' tyres. They generally like to ride lower pressures when there's less traction on a wet day, but the exact pressures vary depending on the rider's preference and also just, well, the rider's weight and size. I'm over at the Lotto Soudal bus, and here I've found one of the bikes that belongs to one of the favourites for the second stage of the Giro. It's Caleb Ewan's Ridley Noah Fast, and befitting of his sprinting style, we've got a really interesting cockpit on this bike. So he's got a 36 centimetre wide bar, which is very narrow, and also this ridiculous deader 13 centimetre stem that's got a -17 degree on it, just to get him in that really aggressive position when he's sprinting right over the bars. And on his stem as well, he's got a cool sticker saying "Pocket Rocket, Caleb Ewan." That's pretty cool. It's also interesting to see how he fits onto this frame, and also how you take into account his extreme sprinting position, because there isn't actually much seat post visible showing in the way he's got it set up at the moment. This is the bike of breakaway specialist and Caleb Ewan's teammate Thomas de Ghent, and because he's a breakaway specialist, it's quite cool that he's got this very Aero cockpit, all in one-piece bar and stem, fitted to the front of his bike to try and make it as aerodynamic as possible. It's a really neat bar and stem, this. I've not actually seen this particular one before, but it's very sleek indeed, and very flat on the top, so he can get into that position where he rests his arms on the tops of the bars to get super aero. Cool. And then also on this stem, he's got the route details for today's stage. A little mini map that's been printed out with all the locations of the feeds and climbs and intermediate sprints as well. In case you're wondering, the bar width is 40 centimetres, which is pretty narrow. And interestingly, De Ghent is favouring the Helium, which is Ridley's climbing bike, over the Aero bike, the Noah Fast, which Caleb Ewan's choosing, even on a flat stage.
Custom piece of tech for you now. As you all know, we use Wahoo bolts, and more lately Wahoo Roams at GCN, and they've brought a custom one here to the Giro d'Italia. Pink. This will be used by the Bora Hansgrohe squad over the next 3 weeks. It's bright pink too.
Vincenzo Nibali has a choice of 2 road bikes here at the Giro. The Merida Sculptura, the lightweight climbing bike, he's often favoured in the past, but also Merida's Aero bike, the Reacto. And Merida have made a special one for him where they've taken the paint off to make it lighter. Paint adds a significant amount of weight, so they've saved a substantial amount, probably over 200 grams, by taking that paint off, but they've still given it a cool custom paint job on the down tube to signify his victories in Grand Tours, which is really nice. Aero bikes offer a measurable benefit and advantage to professional cyclists, even climbers and team leaders, but they're often hesitant to ride them because there's a slight weight penalty over their climbing bikes. So Merida has worked hard to try and reduce the weight of the Reacto to get it competitive for Nibali, and taking the paint off is one of the things they've done, but they've also fitted some lightweight components, so it's got these really lightweight skewers at the front as well, which is different from what the rest of his team are using. I've asked the mechanics at Bahrain Merida how much Vincenzo's bike's coming out at on the scales, and they've told me they've managed to get it to 6.9 kilograms with a power meter and a transponder on there, which, well, that's incredibly competitive for an aero road bike these days, and well, I'm sure he'll be very happy to ride it. In fact, he's just gone out for a ride on it now. And another detail I spotted on it was the saddle, which wasn't a sponsored saddle. It looked to me like it was a Physique Antares and all the logos had been rubbed off and it was blanked out. I'm over at the Team Ineos truck and I've got hold of Pavel Sivirkov's bike, and it's this beautiful Pinarello Dogma F12. New tech, but we've made a video on that before. But what's new here is something quite subtle. I've spotted some brand new Continental tyres, and from a distance, they look, well, just the same as the standard Pro Limiteds, but I can tell looking at them up close, these are a brand new model, and done some digging, and apparently they've got a higher thread count than before, so 200 TPI rather than 100 TPI, so that makes them more supple. And also, apparently the weight of them has been reduced as well, so now these tubs are just 240 grams, making them, well, anything lighter is always going to be slightly more beneficial, isn't it? For those of you that aren't familiar with the Competition Pro Limited, it's a tubular tyre from Continental, meaning that it's glued onto these Jura Ace rims. So I've got some verniers and I'm going to measure the width of it and see what these new tyres are coming out at. So although it says 25 millimetres on the side of the carcass there, it's actually coming out at 24 millimetres on my verniers, which are digital as well. I'm also going to weigh the Ineos F12 because it's the first time I've seen this bike in a complete race build with a power meter, so I'm intrigued to see what it hits the scales at. So 7.39 with a power meter and deep section wheels. It's pretty competitive for what is an aero bike.
I'm at Jumbo Visma now, and this is the bike of race leader Primož Roglic. Now, there's some really interesting things on his bike, that especially because today's a flat stage and also it's really wet. So one of the most interesting things I've spotted are his tyres. He's running 28mm tyres rather than the usual 25, and he's also swapped the normal Vittoria Corsas for Corsa Controls, which are more of a sort of winter tyre. They've got more puncture protection and are a little bit more rugged, so hopefully he's hoping that will help him in the wet weather. Also, to help with the flatter stage, he's got a 54-42 chain set on there rather than the 53-39 he normally runs. And the other thing that stands out on his bike for me is just a beautiful paint job. So it's a Bianchi Ultra XR4, which is an aero bike. And on here, he's got this amazing custom painted eagle on top of the Celeste, which is a nod to his, previous life as a ski jumper. He's also running an integrated all-in-one aero bar and stem from FSA. And interestingly, he's put some pads on there so that he can rest his arms on the tops and get into an aero position, which is pretty cool. And to denote his race leader status, the mechanics have also put some pink bar tape on his bike as well. We've just come to the Jumbo Visma bus, and it's now my favourite bus because they've given me a special pink cake, which is to celebrate that Primož Roglic is in pink at the start of stage 2.
These are the beautiful BMC team bikes of Team Dimension Data, and some of the riders have a choice of bikes here at the Giro. So they have the Time Machine aero bike, but also the Team Machine SLR 01 sort of, all-round climbing bike. It's less aero, but it's a bit lighter. So on the key stages in the mountains where they want a lighter bike, the riders will tend to opt for that, whereas on the flatter, more aero stages, the faster stages, they have the option of using the Aero bike and the benefits that it affords. And to be able to swap between the bikes more efficiently, the team actually have a special jig which they can use to change the positions on the bike so that they're exactly the same. So to the rider, it feels like the same place when they sit on it. The team are running Vittoria Corsa tyres. These are 25mm, and I've seen 25mm used throughout on all their bikes, and they're tubulars. Now they're glued to these rather nice NV 5.6 rims, and this differs from their time trial bikes, where we've seen that they're actually using the Corsa Speed Clincher tubeless ready tyre. Although they're not running it tubeless, they're running it with latex inner tubes. And the reason why they're using clinchers in the time trial is for lower rolling resistance. And weight doesn't matter so much, but on the actual road stages, weight can be a bit more important, especially on the mountains. And also, it's deemed to be safer because when they get a puncture, say if even going down a descent, you can actually ride on a flat tub a little bit longer, which is crucial in a race situation. And at the moment, you can't really do that on a clincher or a tubeless tyre.
You've got to love going around the teams before a Grand Tour and seeing all the new tech, haven't you?
Oh, I love it, mate.
What was your favourite bit?
I think that gold PC8 head unit with a 24 karat gold leaf on it.
For the shake. That was pretty cool. I like the Gazetta one actually. But my favourite bit was actually Vincenzo Nibali's custom bike, even though we've already seen it last year. Unfortunately, well, I'd actually done a piece about that myself, and then you came along and did it better, so that's what we used in the video. Here's a bit of what I did. This is the custom Bahrain Merida.
And if you're wondering where you can get your hands on one of these rather splendid Italy-themed GCN t-shirts, well, they're in luck, aren't they, Dan? Because they're on sale in the GCN shop.
Yeah, shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. We'll put a link to that fairly shortly. I still love the GCN Italia logo. You're like an Italian mod. Well, British mod in an Italian t-shirt. Anyway, let's conclude this video by saying that if you didn't already see our TT Tech video from a few days ago, you can find it now just here.